Have you ever wondered what lies behind the walls of your own home? What dark secrets could be hidden just out of sight? I never imagined the horror that awaited me when I discovered the secret room containing an otherworldly mirror. This is the story of how my life was turned upside down by a seemingly innocent reflection. It started on an ordinary Saturday morning. I was doing some light renovations, knocking down a few non-load-bearing walls to open up the living space. As I pried off some drywall, a hollow space was revealed. A small room, no bigger than a closet, tucked away invisibly. Curious, I shone my flashlight inside. The bare walls were unremarkable, except for a large ornate mirror mounted on the back wall. As I pulled the mirror free, it felt wrong somehow. Too heavy, too solid for a normal-looking glass. I brushed away the cobwebs and peered at my reflection. But instead of seeing myself, I witnessed a horrifying sight. A family of strangers eating breakfast together. I stumbled backwards, shattering the mirror onto the floor. I must have imagined it, right? Some trick of the light or lapse in sanity. I cleaned up the shards of glass, my hands trembling, and I tried to forget what I'd seen. Over the following days, I became plagued by nightmares of that strange family. Their pale, emotionless faces burned into my mind. I awoke each morning exhausted and unnerved. My wife noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to explain. She'd surely think I'd lost my mind. Then one evening, while watching TV, something caught my peripheral vision. I looked over to see the shattered mirror had reformed itself in the corner. The fragmented pieces melted back together like liquid. I blinked, and the mirror returned to normal, scattered across the floor. But in that split second, I saw the disturbing image again. The pale family, going about their evening routines, reading, watching TV, the same vacant stares. I made up an excuse about working late and left the house, anxiety gripping me. I went to the library and looked up information on the history of my home, but found nothing out of the ordinary. Who were these people? Were they a vision of the past or something more sinister? Returning home, my fears were realized. Throughout the house, the mirror shards had reformed into smaller reflective surfaces. A shard became a mirror on the wall, showing the pale figures brushing their teeth. A sliver of glass became a mirror on the TV, showing them watching me watching them. No matter where I looked, they were there, silently mocking me from every reflective surface. I snapped, bellowing at the visions to leave me alone. My wife rushed in, seeing me screaming at my own reflection, and looked at me like I was insane. I knew I had to get rid of these cursed mirrors, once and for all. I spent the next week removing every mirror and reflective surface from the house. Bathroom mirrors, TVs, oven doors, anything that could potentially show the mysterious family. I replaced them with opaque materials, even tapping over glass windows to block out the world. My wife threatened to leave if I didn't stop the madness, but I couldn't risk her seeing what I'd seen. The house became a fortress of my obsession, but it didn't stop them. One night, While lost in a fitful sleep, a sound awoke me. A faint, echoing voice that shouldn't have been possible in the mirror-stripped house. Following the murmurs, I traced them back to the basement where the original cursed mirror lay in pieces. Scattered across the floor, the shards were rearranged, creating a makeshift reflective surface large enough to show the pale family staring back at me. They seemed different this time, more vibrant and lifelike than before. As I leaned in, studying their every feature, one of the pale figures looked up and made eye contact with me. Before my eyes, the color drained from their face and they opened their mouth, letting out a blood-curdling scream. I stumbled away in horror as they began wailing in torment, clawing at their own faces. In a blind panic, I grabbed a sledgehammer and smashed every last speck of reflective surface, silencing the shrieks. In the dim basement, the only light came from a dusty old window where I finally saw my own face after weeks. Haggard, sunken eyes, clearly descending into madness. I pulled myself together and formulated a plan to rid myself of this curse once and for all. The next day, I gathered up every fragment of the shattered mirrors and loaded them into the trunk of my car. Then, after making sure my wife was out, I drove deep into the rural countryside outside of town, where an abandoned quarry lay. Upon arriving, I emptied the cursed mirror shards into the rocky pit. Splashing them with gasoline, I prepared to burn them and rid myself of this nightmare forever. As I struck a match, one last sizable shard of mirror remained, shimmering in the sunlight. As I watched the flames take hold, the face of a young girl appeared, gazing at me with familiarity rather than fear or torment. She began mouthing words, begging me not to destroy the last remnants of our existence. In shock, I dropped the match and watched as the mirror surface melted and bubbled away until only a shimmer of energy remained. It hovered briefly, revealing itself as a ghostly apparition of the young girl I'd seen moments before. She mouthed, "Thank you," with tears in her eyes before winking away, finally at peace. Shaken but revealed, I returned home to my worried wife and never spoke of the events again. Sometimes I wonder if the mirror trapped lost souls, forced to endlessly repeat the mundane routines of their former lives until the end of days. Part of me hopes that by freeing that last spirit, I've also freed myself from whatever darkness pursued me. To this day, I avoid mirrors where I can. Every reflective surface fills me with a pang of dread that the visions could return. I try not to take life's simple mundanities for granted anymore. Who knows what horrors could lurk just on the other side of the looking glass?